Salut. Allow me to ask you, how are you? Because today I'm coming from an angle that I'm going to be asking a lot of rhetorics, right? I want to ask you, why don't you patronize your friends? That's those of you who don't. Why don't you patronize your friends? You only remember your friends when you want free jobs. You only remember your friends when there's no money. But immediately you are in a position to afford the services, you remember that every vendor is from outside. All of a sudden your friend is not in the league of those who should do the big jobs. But when once it comes to social free, your friend is number one on your list. You will remember your friend, call your friend, how far was the money no deal. Please, all of us are guilty at some point. But why is that the case? If by now your network of friends, you guys are together and you have the opportunity to put their names down where they would make more money and you don't do it, should I say shame on you? Okay, no, I don't want to shame you. I think that you should change that strategy. I don't think it's pleasant. I don't think it's beautiful. Okay, each time you have the opportunity to do something, whether it's now, I've been an MC. I started doing the job of an MC at the age of 19. I can never forget. And most of the times, my friends negotiate the most. And then you get to these events, they've paid some of the most exquisite sorry, I beg your pardon, vendors. The cake costs 2 million naira. The decoration costs so and so million naira. But once it comes to the MC, now then I should be my person. No, I'm not your person. I'm not. Because I think that is taking you. Why? What? I mean, you can get any MC. It doesn't have to be me. It doesn't have to be the person that you know. I'm just using one out of very many other instances. You want something, you know that, okay, Dan America can deliver on this, but when once it comes to time to pay, you're talking about some other thing. You become too familiar. All of a sudden, you remember we went to the same primary school. Remember that I visit you at home. Remember that you and I are 5 and 6. But when once it comes to sign the check, you and I are not 5 and 6. No, I'm asking, am I exaggerating this? Please, I really need to get feedback. This is not me trying to cast anybody down, but I'm just trying to say be a lot more intentional, be a lot more deliberate when you're having events, when you're having it mustn't be events. I'm just using what's typical of my workspace to describe these things. When you know that you have a friend who is competent, who has capacity, who can deliver, please use the time to pay to bless them as well. I can understand that sometimes, in fact, the worst is when some of you think it's your entitlement because you're friends, that the job should be for free. That's in your mind, even when this your friend doesn't say that this doesn't go all professional with you, which is first and foremost the first error. Sometimes maybe when this privilege is abused, you should go professional. I know that sometimes you want to, there are situations and there are circumstances, but the very circumstance, the very situation I want to address is when you deliberately take your friend's services, skills, or products for granted. It is totally unacceptable. You're breaking the friendship code. And that's not a nice thing to do. Maybe I'm using friendship as the yardstick, but let me use the word familiarity. Sometimes you're familiar with somebody and all of a sudden you don't see that person through a light that is grand. Every other person from outside is every other person that you don't have a relationship with is the person. But when it comes to you'll be using your friends for small gigs. When it comes to the very big gigs, all of a sudden remember you have to bring people from outside. I don't understand. I don't get it. Okay, I'm going to talk. Okay, let me take it easy. I don't get it. If there have been people in your space, at least learn to learn not to abuse the privilege of your friendship or that they're in your space. As you're looking down on them, people outside are looking big, are looking at them in ways that you don't see them. You just don't get too familiar, don't get too comfortable with a man's product, with a man's skill, with a man's capacity, so much so that I'm really, and those friends who think that they've been abused, it's time for you to up your game as well. It's time for you to say no sometimes, particularly when you don't understand the benefits. If your friends have been around you and you're the only one who is the only cock who is crowing, and you have the opportunity to raise them up by way of, these people are not begging, they have services and products to render, patronize your friends. their skill, their products, and what are you have you. That is the crux of this conversation. Please patronize your friend. Make your friends feel good. Bring out money. Send, support their way. You have the ability. Don't take who they are for granted. Au revoir.